Hello, hello, hello. Good morning from Chicago. Good afternoon or evening, wherever you might be joining us from. I have a guest today that I'm going to introduce in a moment, but please, as you drop into comments, let us know where you are joining us from. She is coming to us from Scottsdale, Arizona. And before we get started, again, I'm Carol C.C. Miller, your positive life strategist, peace activator, and global hugger. And I'd like to share a little bit about who I am before we get started, especially if you're somebody new to the Embrace Your Life chats. And one of the biggest things to know is I'm not a big fan or believer in absolutes. The word always and never, right or wrong. You will hear me say them on occasion, but there are 7 billion people in this world. I can't begin to know what is always right for 7 billion people or never right for 7 billion people. So I work on a scale of 0 to 100, and 0 being always negative, 100 being always positive. And I don't know anybody in either one of those, 0 or 100. I know people who are closer to the 100, and I know some people who are closer to the 0. But I work on for my daily practices and with my coaching clients, staying in the 80 to 100% of the range. That means fear visits me, frustration visits me, doubt visits me, anger visits me, all of those things visit me, but because of my daily practice, I don't stay in them as long. So they help me move through it. And then, secondly, I like to remind people I'm a coach. I love helping people live their dreams. I am not a therapist or a counselor. And sometimes we need something a little more or different to help us. And I want you to know that you are worthy of living your best life. So, whether it's a coach, perhaps a clergy member, if you are in a particular religion, a really good friend, or a counselor therapist. Seek out the type of help that you need to live your best life. So that's where I like to start with. And in today's topic, um, all of my topics are around helping to heighten your celebrations and lessen your sorrows. And today's topic is going to be an interesting one because it kind of lives in both spaces, but it really is to help lessen your sorrows and allow you to move through the last conversations and making those last decisions on a loved one who is transitioning. And with that said, I'm going to introduce you to my friend who I have known for many, many years. She's actually been the person that I've known the very longest that I've had live. So it's almost a little awkward like talking to my Amy here on a Facebook Live. But I call her my Amy, and we will discuss that in a moment. But let me read her bio really quickly. And again, the conversation today is making final decisions easier and how she learned through a last gift to use her special gifts into helping other people. So Amy Sutherland was born and raised in the Midwest. After losing both parents in the span of 2.5 years and finalizing their estates, Amy realized the importance of sharing the information she learned. My coach Amy was created as a way to provide support, clarity, and peace of mind for people preparing their loved ones to handle their affairs. Her combined background in problem solving, organizational skills, relationship building, project management, and coaching expertise makes her uniquely qualified to guide and support people through the process of organizing and documenting their personal and financial information. And before I say, Amy, share about yourself, I have to say this. So many people in my life, and I consider myself a very organized person, but as soon as I think how organized I am, Amy is far more organized than me, and I feel like I have clutter everywhere because if I was comparing myself to Amy, I'm not an organized person. But we've talked about not comparing ourselves many times on this conversation, but I don't know anybody who is more organized than my Amy. So, my Amy, welcome to the conversation and let everyone know a little bit about your journey and what got you here.
Thank you, my Carol. I call her my Carol, probably more in my head than saying it to her. And the reason my coach Amy is called my coach Amy is because I am a certified life coach. I have been for years. But when I was talking about starting this business to help people, I was talking to Carol. I'm like, I don't know what my name should be. I'm not sure. This just sort of trying to figure out names with her. She goes, well, you will always be my Amy. And I thought, oh my gosh, isn't that a perfect name? My coach Amy. So people can feel that they can count on me and rely on me, that I'm there to support them. And that's what I really sort of like about the name my coach Amy. So that's sort of where that came from because of my Carol. So
And I do, and it is true that you are organized and detailed and
yeah.
able to help people through these processes because we're talking about end of life decisions. And so not only are you making hard decisions, but you're also making them in stressful times, sad times, and all those things that go into it. So tell me
Yeah.
about what about your experience with your parents and
Sure.
how that gift brought you to where you're at.
Absolutely. Look, these conversations are not easy for, I would say, the majority of the people. And I would say most people, even myself, don't didn't even consider it until my dad was on his deathbed. And so I was in my mid 40s. My dad was like 84, 85 when I actually even considered what I needed to look at. So it's not like people like to think about this or look at this, but I can say I really had a very positive experience with this with my family. My parents and I have always been close, which I feel very grateful for. But ever since I was a child, my parents have said, "Hey, look, if they went on a trip, hey, look, if something happens to us, here's where all the documents are." I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean if something happens to you? Oh my gosh, like, is something going to happen to you? And they're like, no, Amy, we don't think anything's going to happen to us, but we just want to be prepared so you're taken care of. And I said, oh, okay. So it was sort of this conversation from very early on that it was really never about them going away or them dying or me losing
Yeah,
them. It was more about them taking care of me and supporting me up until past their deaths. They always, and I would say the majority of family members, or even, I'm just going to say loved ones, because family really relates to so much more than a blood relation.
yeah,
Um, and I would say that it really is about wanting to support and take care of a loved one. And I would say that shifting that perspective from the fear of not wanting to think about your death to two things. I want to control the outcome of what happens to me if I get sick and can't take care of myself. That's a huge one for me. And that also, my dad was that way too. I want to control and decide what happens to me
yeah,
is a big one. And then I want to make sure my loved ones are taken care of. And so that was always this focus. And what was interesting about this all through my life into my mid 40s, I was like, oh, everything, it's just taken care of. Like I just knew that it was just taken care of. But then in 2013, my dad had a time where he almost passed away in the hospital. And it was a jarring thought, like, oh, this, you never think it's going to happen, like
yeah,
ever, even when they're really, really old, I'm like, oh my gosh, he almost died. And now I am a planner and an organizer. I always have been. It's the way my mind works. What if, what if, what if? And let me tell you, sometimes I'm on the higher scale and I need to bring myself down because I want to live in the present.
I just
um,
wanted to add to that,
yeah,
Amy, as far as what you're saying,
yeah,
how your parents wanted to take care of you and stuff. I remember
yes,
my dad's been gone 16 years now.
yeah,
And it was probably a few years. I mean, he wasn't even sick at the time that him and my mom told all of us kids, there's four of us in the family, to look at things in the house and decide
hmm
who wanted what. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not about to discuss this because you're not going anywhere, but they were wanting to make sure that everybody knew what was going on so there wasn't any. I mean, I'm close to my siblings anyway, but as you know, and a lot of things happen after death that what you think is a close knit family, because there isn't clarity and decisions on it, can be a lot of strife and struggle through that. So once he did pass and we were talking much later with my mom, it's like, okay, I get this now. But at the time, I'm like, I'm not, I felt like it was almost approving of them leaving, I guess is what I would say.
yeah. And it's so true. And you don't want to think about it. And it makes perfect sense. People don't want to think about it. And that's why this is so important to me, because in stressful situations, it is hard to make good decisions. It's just a fact. You can look it up online. It's just difficult to make good decisions. And then on top of that, look, some families get along great, and then there's some families that don't. But there's
Right.
also some families that seem like they get along great and that everything's going to work out and it's going to be okay. But then there's these harboring underlying issues that nobody really knows, and maybe the person in the family doesn't even know. And so if there's not specifics on what needs to be done, they may feel a personal way that's very different than another loved one
Yeah.
in the family. And then there's the strife because there's no one, or no one has the ultimate decision. And this is where it can cause a lot of issues in families.
Yeah.
And parents never want loved ones to not get along, right?
Exactly.
And it's going to happen, and that's okay. Those are other situations that you can work through, and you can love through. But what you can do is you can take the stress of these details out of it, and
Yeah.
that's what's important.
Yeah, and I think that people also grieve differently and at different
Yes.
times. So even but being able to have this information all together, and if
Mhm.
anyone here, please, if you have any questions on, sh Amy's going to share some of her tips and tools on what she does and how you can work with her if you need her
Yeah.
assistance. But please feel free to ask questions. I see Sylvia's here from London and Mindy is here. And there is a Facebook user, so that means you're in my Embrace Your Life community. And I don't know who you are, but I will come back later and say hi to you. But so,
Hello,
Amy,
everyone.
yeah. So your father. So go back to when your father was um,
Oh,
at
yeah.
nearing the end.
So my mom called and she's like, "Oh, like dad's in the hospital. He almost passed away." And it shook me because I knew that I was going to be the person that was going to be handling their estate. I got to be honest, I thought, oh, wow, what an honor. But I really had no idea what it meant. None at all. I'm just like, well, I'm helping my parents out. They asked me, and they've done everything for me through life. So I'm going to do whatever they want from me because they've been so wonderful to me. So, again, I was an executive assistant to CEOs and a project manager. So it's sort of in my wheelhouse, this kind of thinking. So when we had that scare and he almost passed away, I thought, do I know where all of their stuff is? Do I know where all of their financials are? I mean, I know a lot because my parents, kept me up to date or had discussions with me, but I didn't know how many life insurance policies they had or anything about our businesses truly. Um, I really just didn't know what they had. And since my 20s, probably because of the way I grew up, have put together a list for myself because I thought, well, if something happened to me, I think about if somebody were to walk in, if Carol was to walk into my home and have to take care of something, is she going to know how to do that? And the answer is
It's
now,
in your
yes.
DNA, Amy. It's in your
What?
DNA. It's in
Yeah,
your DNA.
it's in my DNA. And the answer is no, not unless she knows where my binder is. And there are, some people here that know exactly where my binder is and everything's documented. Now, not everybody has to get crazy. You don't have to do the level that I do. You have to do what you're comfortable with, it your family is comfortable with. But because of that scare, when my dad almost passed, I sat down with him. I said, look, I need to know everything. Now, you don't have to do it with me. You can just give it to me and I will document it. And then if I have questions, I'll ask you. And what's fascinating about that time, now my dad was very organized as well. And everyone is organized in their own way.
Right.
And so it's interesting when people say, oh, you're really organized. I'm really organized in my way. My way may not work for someone else. So it's really about finding what best suits you. So my dad had a way, but I didn't understand his way. So
Right.
I had to organize the stuff in my own way. And what was fascinating is during that time, I remember we were going through a file cabinet and there was like 10 insurance policies. And I said, okay, well, are they all valid? He goes, no, no. He goes, most of them aren't. I said, okay, fantastic. So how about we throw them away? Because what would have had to happen is I would have had to go through all 10 of those insurance policies to find out which ones were valid and which ones weren't. That would have taken me hours to do. And by my dad working with me and going through that, he's like, oh, yeah, here's the two insurance policies. Fantastic. Documented them, was done. So when something happened to my dad and my mom, I was helping my mom go through the process she needed to go through. Um, Everything was done. We didn't have to think about if we were missing something or do we need to find something. I know so many people that either can't get into their parents' computer, so they can't get into the documents. Another person that I know, Carol and I both know, parents just died. They had the trusts and the will, and they thought this was great. But you know what? They didn't check the beneficiaries, and they did not have beneficiaries on their pension or their 401k. So now not only do they have a trust, they have to go through probate. There's other people that couldn't pay for the funeral, but they swore their dad had a pension, but they couldn't figure out where it was. So all of these things are happening when you're mourning the passing of your loved one.
Yeah.
And these are all things that can be avoided. And this is what this is really about. So it's not to say that what I went through wasn't stressful. It was. And I thought, how could it be stressful on me? This is like what I do for a living. And in my book, I wrote about this in the chapter in the book that I'm in, Wisdom of the Silver Sisters. I wrote about this. It wasn't the fact of the things I had to do. It was more the fact that I was in my own emotional state and so upset that having that checklist to go through of what I needed to do helped me get through it and helped me get through it quicker and
Well,
with less stress.
and I think with the list before things get to that point, like you're probably going to forget even you're emotional, first of
Absolutely.
all, but there's a lot of little things that you don't even think about that if you have them on the checklist and now you're emotional about it, that you can take care of it. And I did have a question because,
Mhm.
like, when my parents both passed, we had a smaller estate to deal with. So, what are you like? I'm assuming you still encourage people, whether they're dealing with millions of dollars to little to no money, or even people who have passed that are possibly in the red, to still have all that information to make it easier.
Yeah, really, yes. And everybody has to determine what them organizing looks like.
Yeah.
So I recommend going to an attorney because I believe that they're going to be able to give me the best and most information that I need to know to make sure I don't have anything fall through the cracks. Hopefully, make sure you like check to make sure you have a good attorney. Some people may feel like they can't afford that. So then they're going to have to, find other ways to do that, right? So I
Hmm.
think there's a couple components to me. Actually, there's two major components to me.
Okay.
There's estate planning, and that's either a will or a trust, advance directives. And I am not an attorney, so I'm not going to know it all, right? And that's another reason why I recommend going to the professional, go to the person that knows. And so there's estate planning, and that's what people think of: the will, the trust, documenting what you want your children to have, or like what your parents did, Carol, like putting that list together of what you may want in the house, because then there are no arguments at the end. Just everybody
Right.
knows. I helped my mom with that list too, and it was great. It was very easy to split things up. Um, but then there's also the part that nobody really thinks about, and that's the part that I want to help people with, and that's documenting and organizing your personal and financial information. I call it important information because I really consider it organizing your estate documents in with your personal and financial. I'm talking about: where's your insurance policies? Do you have
Yeah.
beneficiaries on them? What's your computer password? Do you have other passwords documented in a secure place, never not in a secure place? What is
Your
it that,
401k.
yeah, your 401k, like, do you have pensions? What credit cards do you have? What are your email accounts? Who do you want your loved ones to contact if something happens to you? Like all of those things. These are things that they're going to want to know. If you were to go into anyone's house right now, would you know anything about them? If so, there's really two ways I look at this. There is the my parents are getting older and I know they're going to have me take care of their estate. I want to make sure I'm prepared. I am going to go talk to them about working with me and partnering with me to make sure we have what their wishes are. This isn't about the children and what they want and money.
Right.
Everything is your parents or your loved ones until they're gone and the estate is finalized. It is not yours, so there's a huge line. So what is it that they want, their wishes, because you want to be able to be supported to help them out. It's that help me help you, kind of mentality, right? So there's that. But then there's also the other side of I'm a person, just me, myself. You don't even have to be old to do this. I am a person. And I'm going, like, for me, I'm single. I want to make sure that the people that are taking care, like my healthcare power of attorneys and my financial power of attorney, the people are going to take care of my estate when I'm gone, that they have the information they need. Because how will anyone know that if I
Right.
don't provide it? It's going to cost a lot of time and money. So, like, for instance, when my parents passed, I was working a full-time job. I had my own stuff in my own household to deal with. And now I'm dealing fully with both of their estates because I had to close both of them out at the end. So I had to do all of that. If I didn't have all of the information I needed, it would have been doubly as hard for me. Now kick
Yeah.
in, your spouse has other elder parents and you have children and all of this. So having all of it, understanding what everybody has, they don't even have to share it with you. They don't have to tell you anything about, like, my parents didn't share how much was in their bank accounts and every nuance of what they had. Like, I didn't know. Quite frankly, I didn't care because it wasn't mine until the very end, right? So they didn't share any of that. I just had it documented. And then, or you could just document it yourself and put it aside and then just make sure they have access to it when needed. But I would say only a few select individuals, only the individuals that you have dog tagged or dog-eared or whatever you want to say, tagged or earmarked, maybe earmarked is the right word, to handle your estate.
Yeah. And I think it, just like you said, even being a younger person, like we still don't
Mm-hmm.
know when our time is up. And
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, like, if something happened to me right now, I know who my beneficiary is, but I don't have anything, like they would not know how to get into my computer and get into, where is my 401k or any of that stuff. So um, I might need to use your checklist myself.
And you know what's fascinating is actually you saying that, Carol, is there's so much, and there's articles on my website too that you can sort of look through. There's so much money that goes unclaimed because no one knows about it. And I think that's why I started this in my 20s. Like, hey, look, I've worked hard for what I have. I don't want anyone else getting it other than the people that I want to get it. Like, I don't want the government just to get it because I forgot to tell somebody where it was. So I want to make those decisions for myself. And we have the control. We get to choose. We have the opportunity right now to choose. At
Yeah.
some point, we may not have that opportunity. And then it's going to be somebody else's choice. And that person may not be the person that you wanted to make those decisions.
Well, especially if you're dealing with young children and maybe,
Yes.
it's an accident, so you're vital and not expecting anything to happen. You don't want the state to determine who gets to take care of your kids. And if you don't have it written down, that could possibly be what happens. They would probably go to family members first. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but
Um,
they may not.
yeah.
So you
I
need
I
to,
read, and so according to different states, they sort of have documented, and they have a list. I'm going to call it a hierarchy list of who gets things, and if that person isn't alive, like, then it could go to somebody else. But it gets really dicey when you're talking like you have multiple marriages, or you have stepchildren, or you have
yeah.
like, it gets a little dicey. I see a question here. See, years ago, I asked my children whether I should get a life insurance policy or not. Not. I have 33-year-old triplets that are all doing better financially than I am. I just want to be cremated, and I really do not have anything of value at this stage in my life. What to do? Uh, uh, Personally, I would always ask an attorney. And the reason I say that, and it's like, attorneys cost money, but I can guarantee you that it's probably going to cost more at the end of your life than during it. But you know what? It's Mindy. It's a great question. I just think that everybody's so is such an individual that an attorney may tell you that you don't need one thing, but you need another thing, which is going to be different than somebody that has younger children, that has a lot of money and their children don't. So I honestly would ask.
And I still think, Amy,
At the very least, like if there's one thing you all can do right now, let's say you don't have a will or a trust, which I highly recommend getting because this helps determine where your things go. But what it also does is, let's say something happens to you, but you're still alive, but you can't make your own decisions. That's called incapacitated. Someone and let's say somebody has to decide whether you go off of life support or stay on it. Do you want your children making that decision for you? Do you want that emotional state? Or do you want to decide what that is? Those are a couple of things that you can decide. Like right now, they're called advanced directives, power of attorneys, like for your finances. Who do you want handling your finances if you're still alive? Who do you want making your healthcare decisions? I think those are three things really that are super duper important. And I still think a will and trust is important. But one of the things that you can really, really do now is put together your personal and financial information. That is something that you can do all by yourself today. And honestly, I really, really wanted to make sure that everyone could use this. I think everyone can use this. So what I did on my website, I'll share that, Carol, real quick. My website's below my name, mycoachamy.com. Under support tools, there is a complimentary section. And in there, there's checklists. There's a checklist of how to go through like the comprehensive list of what you want to see whether you have or don't have. If you don't have it, mark it off. If you don't really think it's valid, mark it off, right? It's your choice, right? And this can help you put things together. There's also how-to instructions, how to organize. The how to organize talks about different ways to organize, not the way that my coach Amy organizes, because everybody, again, like we talked about, organizes differently. So some people put everything in a box. I know one of my friends just did all of this on their own with their attorney, and they've put everything in their safe. I'm like, fantastic. That's the way they did it. That's great. So, everybody does it differently. But I would say you can start doing that today, because no matter what, someone is going to have to go through all your documents and figure out what you have, where it is, and what to do with it. So I think it also could be helpful if you went to an attorney, because then they may ask you questions and you'll have all the answers right there, and it will cost you less because you don't have to spend as much time with them.
Well, and I think also, not necessarily your story, Mindy, but there are many people who don't have good relationships with family members for a variety of reasons. And so if you do have things, it doesn't mean you have to leave it to your children or to a loved one. There's a lot of people who, donate and, support like a charity that is very important to them. And some people do it and give to their children, or both, so it's good to know. But I don't, and you may not know either, because it's probably more of a legal question, but without any kind of will or something, I don't imagine that the state is going to say, oh, she really loved this organization, let's give them some of her money. It would
no, the state, I know, and just researching a little bit of it, the state goes through and they have procedures, right? The state goes through, and depending on what state you live in, and it'll say something like, and I don't even want to say any names because then everybody will say, oh yeah, you said brother or whatever. They'll say like your first line of relatives, will everything will go to your first line of relative. Oh, that you don't have a that first line, okay, it goes to the second line, it goes to the third line. So they have a listing.
Yeah.
I believe, pretty sure that's how it goes. But that's also another fascinating point, Carol, and I love that you said that, is that the state will then determine who gets your stuff. You don't get to determine who gets your stuff at that point. And again, this is all about choice, right? And empowerment and being able to make your own decisions. And this is the time and the opportunity you have to make your own decisions. So there's that component, making your own decisions. And then there's the component of making sure my loved ones don't have to make any stressful situations for me, and they have everything they need to make sure that I'm taken care of. And so I'm supporting them by giving them everything they need. So there's two components, two sides to this.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I don't know if it was a year, maybe 2 years ago now. Even Facebook has gotten into that where you can register somebody. So when you pass, they can come into your account. Like you have to give them permission to come into your account to be able to either deactivate it or show that the person is now gone. And before that, if their Facebook passwords were nowhere to be found, then nobody would have been able to access that account. So it was nice that
Right.
they set that up to allow people to have the ability to go in and do that.
So one thing that I may want to talk about, Carol, is and I typed up 6 pages. See, I'm organized. See, so I sent it to Carol, and she was probably like, "Oh, brother, I was just looking for. I think you said 3 bullets, right?" But I typed up 6 pages. But it's great because now I have it. But so I wrote some things down. I'll probably read them because I strategically put them a certain way. So the question I sort of wrote down was, so how do we do that? How do we have these conversations with our
Yeah.
loved ones? Either if we're saying, hey, look, we want to prepare you if something happens, or hey, look, mom and dad, or loved one, aunt or uncle, or the person that I'm going to be taking care of their estate. You want me to help you, but I need to know what you have. So I said, to me, the best thing to do is to seek and understand. Like, I think that's always the best thing that you can do with someone. Everybody thinks differently. I'm sure you've heard the thing of you can look at the same picture and everybody's going to have a different perspective of that picture. It's bad, it's good, it's beautiful, it's ugly. It brings up an emotion for you of sadness. It brings up an emotion of happiness because of our past life experiences. So just because I may have a feeling about something doesn't mean that you are feeling the same
Right.
way about it. So I think understanding where they're coming from, saying, hey, look, Carol, I know you want me to handle everything for you when something happens. I really like to talk about maybe looking at this checklist and going through it and making sure that I have everything I need to do to help you out. That's going to help me out because I am not going to have to search for things. Like, do you think we could do that, or how do you feel about it? And understanding. So I also put, like, when talking to anybody, we want them to understand what we're saying, just sort of like the example I just gave, like why it's important to us. So in order for them to hear you, you need to hear them first, because otherwise, I mean, that's just communication 101, right? Like, but I have to say, I don't think I learned that until a couple years ago. So, so I said there's 2 sides here, and that's what I just talked about, the people putting their estate stuff together, the people that are going to be helping them out. And for simplicity's sake, like, so we just talked about it. So I said you can ask questions like, how can I help my loved ones if something happens to me? That would be that shift in perspective, as opposed to, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about me dying. It's, oh, how can I help them? And that's what I did when I put mine together. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've asked a friend to help me. I want to make sure that I'm supporting them as much as possible. And that's how I started sort of down this journey. How can I ensure my loved ones know what I have, where it's located, and what to do in order to make their lives less stressful? How do I ensure my loved ones are supported and taken care of until the very end, just like I've been doing for them their entire lives? I mean, how many
Yeah.
times, Carol, do we support our loved ones? Will we do anything for them? Anything whatsoever. I know Carol has driven to my house in a snowstorm to throw um, flu medication at me because I was so sick I couldn't go. I mean, like, so if she's going to drive in a snowstorm to come up and give me medication, like, of course she's going to want to make sure that she takes care of things so I know how to handle it at the end, right? Um, how do and think about if someone was to come over, and I've said this a few times today, if someone was to come over to your house right now, would they know what to do and where you've placed your wishes? So, a few points, and I think, again, I've said these, I think they're important though. I remember my dad always saying, I want to decide what happens to me. I don't want to have someone decide what happens to me. And so that was a big statement he always made and why he made some of these plans. And I also said, we all know eventually something's going to happen to us. So I like to think about it planning on making something less stressful. It's going
Yeah.
to be stressful. I'm just going to be honest, but it's going to be less stressful. So I said, what if your loved ones don't want to discuss it? First, you need to determine, I said, who they have or want to be in charge of handling their healthcare needs and financial needs. Because if it's not you, then you don't need to worry about it. It's really between that person that's handling it and that loved one. There are These are the people that should be having the conversation. And I said, seek to understand why. That's where you need to start. Are they afraid? Then you can focus on that. Are they private? Because some people are private and don't want to share that information. You
Yeah.
can focus on that. Like, okay, you're private. You don't have to show me or share with me or do anything until the end. I just need to know how to get access to it when I need it. And if you don't feel like you can trust somebody to give them access, then that's probably a pretty good indication that they shouldn't be managing things for you. You really should use somebody you believe in. Explain how you're going to feel. Possibly you're afraid that you don't have what you need to be supportive. So I think start thinking about if your loved ones, I think I put all of that stuff down. So I would say on my website, what can help you is there's an estate overview. It's one of the first complimentary things. When I say complimentary, I mean free. You have access to it. The estate overview sort of has a snapshot and it shows you, okay, the person planning for their estate, they do their estate planning and their personal and financial information. And then their estates, I call it their estate support team, the people that are going to be helping them at the end, like their power of attorneys, their estate administrator. So all of that stuff is listed. You can pull that out and talk to your loved one about it. And then I have a checklist for personal and financial information. I also have a checklist for estate closeout. And I just did that because when my mom was passing, I was freaking out. I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know, like the top 5 things I need to do when my mom passes, because I was taking care of her in her own home in hospice. So I'm sitting there freaking out about that while my mom is in the other room. And so I thought, I don't want other people to have to think about this. So that's why I put that. So that's all free. And you can do that. If you need support or guidance, then there's coaching sessions. If you live in the local area and you say, look, I just want to hand you my stuff and I want you to put it together for me, I can do that too. So those are really the 3 things. But the most important, I think, to begin with is looking at that checklist.
Yeah, I think that checklist is going to be, I'm going to go look at that checklist, but also for everybody to think about for themselves too. Like
Mm-hmm.
I, like Amy could come over today. Well, it'd be kind of hard because she's in Scottsdale and I am in
I'd fly
Chicago,
to see you.
but there would be no way she would know where anything is. I don't even have it organized in a way to be able to share it with somebody right now. So it's something to think about. I certainly don't plan to go anywhere for many, many, many years, but I don't know that something couldn't happen that I could be gone today or tomorrow. And I would certainly not want to leave my loved ones in a bind trying to figure out where everything is either. So I'm
Because
going to
I
look
can
at your
guarantee you,
checklist.
yeah, you know Carol. I know Carol. I've known Carol for 21 years, and Carol would give somebody the shirt off of her back. I mean, this is just how Carol is, always has been. And knowing that she does that now is like she would never want to not have her family prepared.
Yeah.
And it always seems like, oh, I have time to do it. I'll do it tomorrow. And you're right. You probably do have time to do it tomorrow, right? But life is precious. And this isn't about scaring people. This is about really the shift in perspective to this is just yet another way of how do I take care of my loved ones? How do I support my loved ones? How do I love them always? And that's where that the book that I put, Carol, The Wisdom of the Silver Sisters, The Last Gift. The Last Gift is about, I really did feel through the process, and I had highs and lows, difficult times. And I thought, wow, like I am so grateful that my parents did this for me, because I didn't have to make some of the decisions that you have to make at the end. My dad and mom had already had their whole cemetery stuff figured out. I just walked in and the guy said, what date do you want to have everything? And how many death certificates do you want? Those are the two decisions I had to make. That's it. And
And
it was so
I would add tack on 2 or 3 more death certificates than you think you need, because unless you're using Amy's list, there's gonna, oh, I didn't know I needed a death certificate for that, and then it's just you have to go down to the courthouse and get another one. So it's not expensive. It's just more of, I mean, it does cost you to get more, but it's just a time thing that you have to do, and you're already in that space. So for me, even having all of this prepared and ready as much as you can, there will probably still be things that come up, but you're
every
able to
little bit counts. Whatever you have
every
done now is going to
and
be helpful.
yeah, and it allows you to stay present in that moment, so you're not
Mhm.
already. I even thought that with my mom, it was so easy to go into um, grief while she's still here. I'm like, I'll grieve later. Right now, I'm going to be present. So if you have all this stuff planned and prepared, you're able to even stay more present because you're not worried about where is all this information that I'm going to need to deal with next month, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, or tomorrow. So I think it's really helpful to be able to lessen the sorrow of the situation.
It makes me feel safe and secure.
Yeah,
That's how it makes me feel, and that's how I want other people to feel. I'm not saying I had a good time doing it because I didn't,
right.
and honestly, it brought up a lot of emotions for me, right? And I would say it was a bit stressful, right? Like going through some of that, and honestly, writing some of this stuff out that I did, it it made me a bit like I would say
Reliving it.
emotional, like sad or
Yeah,
just heavy. After I did, I had to walk away. It's not always easy, but it also at the end like makes me feel safe and secure because I don't have to be thinking and talking about it all the time. Like Carol says, you can live in the present moment, and that's why I really, really want to try to help people do that.
yeah. So it's mycoachamy.com, and she is my Amy. I will share her with you for her tips and tools to help you. And again, it's really about if you don't have your own stuff prepared, whether you have a lot or a little, just knowing where those key passwords are and that information. My mom's been gone, it'll be 3 years in December. And so I had to even remember when she was gone, it's like, oh, I need to change who is, I just now forgot the word that I want to use, um, beneficiary. So I'm like, because I
Oh,
had her as my beneficiary forever and ever and ever. And so I didn't even know where I needed to go to change that. So I figured it out and I did it. But it's just things like that that we don't even think about um, until we need to think about it. So the more you're prepared, the easier it will be to walk through the process and to honor your grief a little easier because you're not worried about all these other things that are going to come up and need to be dealt with, but you're going to have a plan in place to be able to deal with them with a
yeah.
little more grace and ease.
Yeah,
So,
I cried through a lot of it. I cried through a lot of it. But while I was crying, I was looking at the list and checking it off. So
yeah,
I didn't have to think about what I had to do. It was already there for me, what I had to do. And then I just had to think about, okay, I'm going to do this one step today, and then I'm going to go take a walk or
yeah.
or do something that's soothing to me, or I'm going to do three things today and then go do something else. And that's what was so helpful to me.
Well, and I love that exactly because it's not about like that's why I say my purpose is to heighten celebrations and lessen sorrows. This process that Amy has put together is not going to take your sorrow away, but it will lessen it. I mean, grief and death, it's a beautiful and hard time in our lives to deal with, but this
Mhm.
process allows you to get through it with a little bit more ease and knowing
Mhm.
that you're supported and you're supporting the loved one who is now transitioned on and could care less about spreadsheets and all that stuff. They're like looking at you like, look at you, ha ha ha. So thank you, my Amy. Thank you, thank you,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
my Carol.
And again, her website is my Amy, my, oh my, oh my God. My, okay, Amy, what is your, my
My
coach
website is
Amy is right
my
there
coach Amy.
because I don't call her my coach Amy. She's my Amy, and she threw another word in the middle of that just to throw me off.
I
But
know.
anyway, yeah, exactly. But I think it's really helpful information whether you have elderly parents that you're dealing with or an accident that comes up and you lose a loved one, but also for yourself to have it ready for if you're younger, there's still accidents or illnesses and things. So none of us are guaranteed to make it into our 80s or 90s. Some people don't want to make it into their 80s and 90s, but to be as prepared as you can will only be helpful for you and your loved ones who are either you're managing their passing or somebody's managing your passing. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Amy, for coming. And for
Thank you,
everyone
Carol.
else, I will be back tomorrow. I'm not sure what my topic is. I'm here on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, so come join me again. It will certainly be around heightening celebrations and lessening sorrows through a positive focus. And as you move through the day, maybe just even start thinking about some questions. Go to Amy's website to download that information, but just think about how you want to move through the process of your own transitioning to make it as maybe you wanted to have somebody plan a party for you or something like that. But
Woo.
be be prepared
And you
and
know what? Just I would say one other tip, take it one step at a time. You don't have to look
yeah,
at like the whole list or make all of these decisions in one day. You can say, I'm going to make two decisions today, or I'm going to look through two things on the list and put it away, go do something.
yeah.
Because every little bit you do is helpful.
Or even today I'm going to read the list just to see what's all on there. You know, it's today I'm going to download the list. Tomorrow I will look at it. It's just about taking
Yeah,
steps forward into making it easier for you. So
right.
thank you, my Amy, for joining me, and thank you,
Thank you, my
everyone
Carol.
else. I hope you
Thank
join me
you,
again
everyone.
tomorrow. I hope you join me again tomorrow. And remember, you matter. You matter to me. You matter to the world. And most importantly, you matter to you. So we'll talk again soon. Tomorrow, same time, same place. So long for now. Bye, my Amy.
Bye, my Carol. Bye, everyone.